Of all the creatures that haunt our nightmares, few are as chilling, as captivating as the vampire. But long before Twilight, Count Dracula, or Buffy, there was Petar Blagojevic, the vampire of Kisiljevo. The vampire myth exists in nearly every culture, but the version most of us know, blood-sucking, undead, with a thirst for the living, traces back to Eastern Europe. And in 1725, in a small Serbian village called Kisiljevo, fear would give birth to one of the most chilling vampire legends ever recorded. Petar Blagojevic was an ordinary man, a peasant, born in 1662. He lived quietly in Kisiljevo until he died under mysterious circumstances. And that's when things got weird. Just 8 days after his burial, 9 villagers suddenly dropped dead. Each death followed a similar, terrifying pattern. Fell ill, die within 24 hours. But it wasn't just the rapid deaths that alarmed the villagers. It was what the victims claimed on their deathbeds. They said Petar Blagojevic came to them in the night and tried to strangle them. Even Blagojevic's own widow said he returned after death, demanding his opancia's shoes. She was so terrified, she ran from the village entirely. Rumors swirled. Another villager said Blagojevic came to his son at night, asking for food. When refused, the vampire father allegedly bit him, drank his blood, and killed him. The villagers were convinced they weren't dealing with natural illness. They were dealing with a vampire, desperate for answers, terrified for their lives. The villagers demanded that Blagojevic's grave be opened, but digging up a body wasn't exactly encouraged, so they called in a government official. Frombold tried to delay, saying he needed permission from Belgrade, but the villagers weren't waiting. They threatened to abandon the town if nothing was done. On a grim, foggy day, Frombold and the local priest stood over the open grave. They watched as the villagers unearthed the body of Petar Blagojevic. What they found only fueled the hysteria. According to Frombold's report, Blagojevic's body looked fresh. His nails and hair had grown. Blood stained his mouth. His skin had peeled away, a new skin had grown in its place. And then came the final blow. The villagers drove a wooden stake through his heart. Blagojevic supposedly screamed, spewing fresh blood from his mouth and ears. Frombold didn't want to take responsibility. In his report, he made it clear he didn't order this, but he admitted the villagers were beside themselves with fear. His story made it into a Viennese newspaper, the Wienerisches Diarium, and from there it spread like wildfire through Europe, and thus the legend of the vampire of Kisiljevo was born. So, was Blagojevic really a vampire? Or was this just a case of superstition and fear gone wild? Modern science gives us a different perspective. After death, bodies can appear to grow hair and nails, not because they're actually growing, but because the skin dries out and recedes, and the blood in the mouth that's common in corpses, especially those that weren't embalmed. But there's more to this tale than just spooky symptoms. Back then, villages were built around churches and so were graveyards. As towns grew, space ran out. People were buried in shallow graves, sometimes just 2 feet deep. Add a heavy rainstorm or a hungry animal. Blagojevic's tale is one of the first documented cases of vampire hysteria, but it wasn't the last. His story helped fuel an 18th century vampire craze across Europe, inspiring writers, sparking debate, and terrifying townsfolk from Hungary to England. Even Bram Stoker, author of Dracula, likely read reports just like Frambles. Whether Blagojevic was a real vampire, be a misunderstood corpse, or a scapegoat for a terrified village. One thing's for sure, his story still chills us today. It's a tale of fear, death, and the line between folklore and fact. Because sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones we create ourselves. Sleep well tonight, and maybe keep some garlic by your window, just in case.